I still keep a folded note in my wallet that reads, "Come back to yourself." I wrote it after a week of frantic yeses, and that tiny line stopped me from saying yes to a job I would have regretted. Welcome to the Self-Care Cafe podcast. I'm your hostess, Pami Parker. Here at the cafe, we pause from the rush and gather around conversations that quiet the mind and steady the heart. Today, we'll learn 2 gentle letter writing practices, one to your later self and one to the you who's here now. You'll leave with starter lines, a tiny template, and 1 micro commitment to try this week. I'm so glad to be joined by Dr. Meera Singh, an expressive writing therapist who helps people use short, intentional letters to find clarity during transitions. Meera, welcome. Thank you, Pami. It's a pleasure to be here. I love this work. Writing can be surprisingly tender and practical at once. Quick question for listeners. Why write to a future self instead of journaling a to-do list? When we address a letter to your future or present self, we create a little distance and a lot of warmth at once. It turns a jumble of thoughts into a conversation. Distance and warmth. Interesting. Exactly. Research shows targeted, expressive writing helps regulate mood, encourages perspective taking, and makes values clearer. Practically, people often choose kinder, more measured steps after they've rehearsed compassion on the page. That makes sense. One safety note before we guide. Writing can surface strong feelings. If you feel overwhelmed at any point, pause, close the notebook, and reach out to someone you trust. You can also try a 2-minute grounding or step away for a bit. I want to ask the question many listeners will have. What if writing makes someone feel worse? Good question. If intense feelings arise, stop and connect with someone supportive. This practice is a gentle tool, not a replacement for therapy. That said, containing the practice, set a 5-minute timer, often keeps it manageable and useful. All right, let's try the first short practice, a letter to your 6-month and 2-year later self. You can write with me or pause the episode and write alone. When you're ready, take a breath. Start by addressing the letter. Dear me in 6 months, or Dear me in 2 years. Name one thing you hope will feel different, big or small. Then tell your future self one truth you're learning now. If you want a starter to copy, try Dear me in 6 months. Remember, you did not have to do everything at once. Or, Dear me in 2 years. Thank you for choosing what matters most. Set a timer for 5 minutes if you're writing. If you're listening, imagine the words and notice how your tone toward yourself shifts. I'll give you a moment. As you write, watch for a softer voice. Often when we picture our future self, we speak with more patience. Name any fear briefly, then return to one clear wish. That combination, truth, wish, and kindness, creates a practical compass. If you pause to write, welcome back when you're ready. Here's a short story about this in action. A client I'll call Lena had just moved and kept saying yes to everything. She wrote a 1-year letter and signed it like a friend. A week later, she told me, the letter sounded kinder than I felt, and that made it easier to say no to 2 projects. That small no created space for a 2-hour weekly experiment that changed how she showed up for work. Oh, kinder than I felt. That line is so honest. It shows how a voice on the page can be a different kind of permission slip. Now, for the second practice, a short compassion letter to your present self. This is for the part of you that's tired or doubting. I'll offer starter lines and then give a brief pause for writing. Dear present me, or Dear heart, name what you notice. I see you're exhausted and trying your best. Offer one line of comfort. It's okay to move more slowly. Then add one tiny practical suggestion. This week, protect a 10-minute walk. Close with, I'm with you. If you're stuck, copy those lines. There's no shame in borrowing kindness. After you write, notice any small physical change. Softer chest, looser jaw. That's information, not judgment. One way to make this stick: choose one sentence from either letter and turn it into a micro-commitment. If your future letter says, I want calmer mornings, your micro-step could be, tomorrow I'll breathe for 3 minutes before my phone. Try it for 1 week and notice. A tiny weekly ritual helps. 5 minutes each Sunday to reread a line and pick one micro-step for the week. No big promises, just curiosity. Remember, the goal isn't perfection. It's practice. Practicing compassion, practicing small experiments, and building a habit of kinder decision-making before stress pushes you around. 2 small letters, 1 micro-commitment, and a 5-minute weekly check-in. That's all. If you'd like printable templates, starter lines, and a simple checklist to make this a habit, visit the Self-Care Cafe website. Link in the show notes. Thank you for taking this quiet time. Be gentle with what comes up, and if anything feels too big, reach out for support. Small practices can help, but you don't have to do this alone. Thank you, Mira. This has been nourishing. To everyone listening, come as you are. Leave nourished. Thank you for sharing a few minutes at the cafe today, and thank you for listening.